Check this out, you guys. Is this cool or what? As far as I know, this is the first Traxxas TRX-4 to be turned into a Wildland fire truck. Actually, while I was building the TRX-4 Sport Kit a couple weeks ago, I decided I wanted to go with the green body because I had the intentions of doing something like this. Now, I didn't plan to do it quite as early as I did, but I had some time on my hands and I had the parts laying around, so I figured why not try it out and see what I do. Now, I didn't film all of the build process, and I hope you guys aren't disappointed in that. Really, the reason I didn't do it is because it's actually a pretty simple setup. And I went into this project with a couple of criteria that I knew I needed to meet. First and foremost being, I didn't want to do too much modification to the truck. I wanted it to be something that I could easily take all of the fire apparatus off of it and just have it be a normal crawler again. Because having the fire stuff on it is going to limit its capabilities on the trail. It won't be able to tackle quite as steep of terrain because you'll see we have a tank in the back in a moment. The approach angle is greatly reduced because the bumper's pushed out quite a bit for the front bumper turret. So if you watch the original fire truck build that I did with the smaller Tonka fire truck, you'll notice there's a few parts here that I took off of that truck. Including the lights. Actually, all of the lights came off of that truck. The light buckets are filled with headlight and taillights and then flashing strobes. All of it is controlled by remote. We have the bar flashing up top. And in the tail we have the tail lights along with more flashing strobes. Now, I based this vehicle off of a U.S. Department of Forestry vehicle that I saw online. And I actually wanted it to be green from the beginning because I knew I was going to do this build once I finished building this truck. Now, in the back here, I have a tank set up. This is not going to be what it looks like in the end. I really am going to spray paint this black because it'll look a lot better. Right now, it's just kind of covered in duct tape. It's actually a completely plastic tank, but I have it covered in duct tape for temperature control reasons and also just because I didn't like the look of the plastic in the back here. It didn't look right. Now up front, you'll notice we have a servo operated water cannon. And I've done several tests with this truck already. It works beautifully. And I can't wait to show you guys. I'm going to do a full demonstration video, but I really just wanted to get this in because it's such a cool truck that I've just built kind of in the past 4 days. This servo operated turret right here with the variometer dial on my radio, if I turn it, you'll notice our water cannon swivels. Now, I've got a piece of crimped brass pipe that's actually in there for the nozzle. It gives me a really tight and strong stream, so that way we get as much distance. I would estimate the truck can probably flow water about 20 feet away from the vehicle, which is plenty for this little truck to handle. On the radio, this 3-stage switch right here is going to be for our lights. So if I flip this switch back towards me, you'll see that all of our strobe lights get turned off. If I turn them back on, and they're all back on. Now, I'm sure you want to check out under the hood, and that's what we're going to do next. Up here is where the water pump sits. The pump is actually strategically placed up front because, one, I wanted more weight over the front axle since there was already going to be a lot of weight over the rear with that water tank. But I also wanted the tank up here because of how the water has to be pulled from the tank to the pump and then thrown out the nozzle. I wanted more distance between the tank and the pump than I did the pump and the water nozzle. The reason for that is because I want the pump to quickly throw the water out the nozzle and be pressurized by this little tip that I have here with this crimped piece of brass. The tank is placed above the pump, so I didn't need to worry about how long the lead from the pump to the tank was because gravity was going to help me with getting water to the pump. Now, the pump is operated by a switch system that I took out of the small fire truck, and basically it's just a micro servo that is on a 2-stage switch. So when I hit the switch on the radio, the servo will kick this switch into the on position and basically flow power to the pump. It's basically just acting as an electrical cutoff between the battery and the pump, so that way when I need power to the pump, all I got to do is flip the switch on the radio. Now, so you can see what I'm talking about. Right here is the switch for our pump. When I flip it, there's the pump. and you'll see right here, just like that, and it works beautifully, and it works perfect every time. So another thing that I wanted to make sure that this truck had was one battery. With my other fire truck, especially the big fire truck that I just recently built, that truck has 2 sets of batteries. And I didn't want to have multiple batteries in this truck because I didn't really have the room to do it. It's a lot easier to have everything operated by one battery, and this one nickel metal hydride battery actually supplies enough voltage and enough milliamp hours to have this truck run for quite a long time. I know that it looks like a mess of wires. There are a lot of wires that have been introduced to this chassis since I built it, but it's all for a good reason because this is a pretty cool setup that we've got. You can see the motor's the same. The ESC is actually the Hobbywing 1060. My 1080 ESC actually blew out recently. I've got a new one on order, but I had a 1060 laying around that I could throw in it. Only a 20 amp difference, but we will need to put a 1080 back in there. Now here you'll notice this yellow tube is our water line that's going to go to the tank. Below the body, let's go ahead and move the chassis out of the way. Looking underneath the body, you'll see all the wiring for the lights. I tried to make everything pretty tidy under here. And right here, this is a brass elbow, just like what we have for the breather holes on the top. But this is actually what's holding the tank. It's actually screwed into the tank from underneath the body here, so that way the tank is actually secured to the bed of the truck. And what we've got here is just a little piece of silicone tube that connects to that yellow tubing that we just saw in the chassis, and that allows me to remove the body whenever I need to access the battery, turn the truck on, stuff like that. And this is a really quick access point. So when I put the body on, all I need to do is plug in my lights, which is right next to the receiver, and then right here we've got the tube. So all we got to do is put those things in, and then we can put the body on, and that allows me to have a quick access to the chassis and does not make the body permanent. So I know that you guys want to see a demonstration, and believe me, I'm not going to leave you hanging. I got some snow outside last night, which does mean that I can't really go out and drive because it's not the right kind of snow for driving RCs. Those of you who get snow and like to drive RCs in the snow, you'll know that there's a specific kind of snow that's better for driving RCs, and usually it's the more crunchy snow where the RCs don't get stuck and sink in the snow. Unfortunately, I have the soft powdery stuff that's not going to let me drive very easily. So I'm just going to go outside my door where there's not quite as much snow. You'll see here that as I turn the bottle upside down, we'll start to get the proper air circulation, and the bottle will start to drain into the tank. Now, I want to point out that this truck is not complete. We can still add or subtract some features to the build. I don't know how well this truck is going to handle as far as off-roading goes. You know, the weight of the tank is pretty significant when it's full, so we might want to experiment with different shock settings and stuff like that. So there's still going to be some improvements to be made, but this is by far one of the coolest TRX-4s that I know of, and I hope you guys think the same. I also want to point out that it's not specifically, you know, exclusive to firefighting. It could be made for many other things. We could do track maintenance. We can use this as a truck to spray down the track in the summertime for dust control. We can use this truck to clean other RCs. We can use it to water the grass. I mean, we can literally do more than just fighting fires. So now I've got however much this is. I don't exactly know what the measurements of this water container are, but we've got that much water in the tank. It is not full. It's probably somewhere around half full. Like I said, you know, the weight of the truck is pretty significant when it's got water in there. So let's go ahead and throw it out the door. Let's give you a little test. Okay, so we're outside right now. I've got the truck all set up. I've got the GoPro on the side here. It really can't navigate through this soft snow, but we're just going to go ahead and turn the pump on so you guys can see it running. All right, here we go, pump turning on. And there we go. Nice flow of water. And we can swivel the cannon. Can shut it down by the touch of a switch. Let's go ahead and turn it on from this angle. And now we're out of water. So as you can see, we only get about a minute or so of water, and that's with the tank about half full. So we may need a bigger tank. That tank does use the space in the bed pretty well though. It covers a lot of that space that's open in the bed. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up and a like if you did. I'm freezing right now, so I'm gonna run back inside, get warm, and I'll see you guys in the next one.